Okay, so that's pretty much all the effects we can add with our particle system. The last thing that we want to do is add in our own shapes because the boxes don't really look that great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my cat. It's going to look sort of silly, but it's a composition that I already have, so I can go over how that might look. You guys, of course, can add in your composition from the previous assignment, or if you prefer, you can add in a new composition. Okay, so let's add in our cat. So basically everything before pop and after whatever your materials, before your materials. So after you set your materials, which you can change in your composition, we may do that. But the composition really starts after all this stuff. So that's our basic template where we do our translation, our rotation, add our material. Then our composition really starts here, and we have to make sure to pop at the end. So I'm gonna go get my cat composition and try to translate it over here. So I'm gonna open up a new window and get my sketch from last time. Here's my cat composition. So it starts here with the cat head. So I'm just gonna kind of copy and paste. I might have to change some stuff, so I'm gonna copy this and paste it in here. So this is my cat. And so we start with that ellipsoid. Okay, so that's really big. That's kind of cool, all right? So it looks a little crazy because there's just the geometries are so large. You could leave it like that, or you could make it a bit smaller. I'm gonna make it a bit smaller for now. I might go back later. So I'm just gonna divide all these values by 10. That'll be easy. I'll just lop off a 0 at the end. Okay, that looks better. So that works with this because it's an X, Y, and Z, but some of our shapes are more than just X, Y, and Z. They're things like the details, so I'll go over that when we get to it. So this actually just kind of looks like a bunch of Easter eggs, which is kind of funny because Easter was yesterday. But we'll just keep working from here. So that's our cat heads. Let's continue from there. So let's add our left ear first. So I'm just gonna copy the left ear code and paste it here. And this is where I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful. So the rotation, I don't really care about that much. I do definitely need to keep the push and pop. I'll show an example of what happens if you don't have those in a second. So the rotation I don't have to worry about. That's the same. Translation is how far I'm going to move, so I do need to worry about that. So I'm going to divide these by 10. Just take off the 0, take off the 0. And then the cone, I can divide by 10. That's the width of the cone, and that's how tall the cone is. So I can get away with that, I think. That should be like an ear. Okay, yeah, it looks like they all have an ear. So that's pretty good so far. So real quick, look what happens if I take off this pop. It's going to start to look crazy. Yeah. So if you're popping, if you're pushing or you're rotating and then you're not popping to get rid of that translation, now you're accumulating all of these rotations that are starting to affect everything. And you might think that looks cool. It definitely looks interesting, but we don't really, this isn't really happening on purpose. So let's put that back in. So if you see something crazy like that happen, you're probably missing a push and a pop somewhere. Oh, you see the rendering time is actually starting to slow down as we add more geometry, but that's okay. So let's add our next ear. I guess these are both left ears. I guess I forgot to write which one it was. So let's just assume that this one's the right ear. Okay, so again, we have to translate less, so I'm going to divide these by 10. Rotation doesn't matter because it's relative. We're going to divide these by 10. So now we should have 2 ears. Looks pretty good. I think we definitely do have 2 ears. That's kind of the basis for the cat head. So let's move on. So then we actually change the material for the eye. So we can leave that and see how it looks. So I'm just going to copy all of this code and paste it in here. Okay, so I'm going to divide these all by 10. The rotation I don't need to worry about. Torus I can divide by 10 because that's the width of the torus and that's the width of the tube, and I want those to match or be near each other. So I'll just do the same thing here, but in the opposite direction. Just dividing everything by 10. Okay, so now we've got eyes, which are our little kind of donuts. And those are not see-through, so it really looks like we just have a ton of eyes. But if we want to make them see-through, I can just add the alpha channel here. I think I did like 200, 240. Okay, so now our eyes are see-through. They're still a specular material, so they're taking the lighting. So they look a little bit different than everything else. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of the alpha there. We could just take out that specular material so the eyes are the same color as the face. So now it's just part of the geometry. But it is kind of funny to have these just like little donuts stuck to the cat. So I'll leave that for now. Again, you guys should design your particle system the way you want it to look, because this is definitely a little silly, but at least you can also see the lighting reflections now. So that's pretty funny. Okay, so then I just have the teeth left, or the mouth. So I'm just gonna copy this, paste it in here, and let's divide everything by 10. So material is just a color, don't care. 0 we can't divide by 10, so we leave that. Divide 50 by 10 is 5, 90 by 10 is 9. These are positions, so I definitely need to divide these by 10. So that's -5, that's 5. This will be 1.5, and then the box will be 1 by 2. And this is all fine. And, okay, so just like I said before, this means I'm missing a pop somewhere, although I think I do see teeth. So let's see. Push and pop. Oh, I have translate, push, translate, and then I don't have a pop. So let's pop here. Try it again. Okay, there we go. So now our performance is starting to slow down a lot because I'm drawing a lot of geometry. And these teeth kind of look disembodied from the cats. But you can kind of see them. That's kind of cool. Okay, so this kind of looks insane. One thing that we can do to help the performance is speed up our lifespan. We can draw less geometry. Either one of those will kind of help the performance a bit, or we can just change the speed in general. So I'm gonna get rid of my cat. So that was my composition. So when you're working with your composition, you can try to import the composition from the last project. If you want to make a new composition, I really recommend designing it in the 3D composition template that we created and not in the particle system itself, because it's really hard to design inside of the particle system because obviously there's a million copies of the thing that you're trying to work on. So let's increase the lifespan to 2 so that they'll disappear faster, so there'll be fewer particles on the screen at a time. And so now our fountain kind of dies a little bit earlier, which maybe that's not so bad. It kind of looks fun right here. But we can increase the speed if we want to go back to the earlier example. So our speed is right here. So if we want to increase the speed or the acceleration, we can do that here. So I'll increase the X to 2, Z to 2, Y to 4, this to 4. So if we double everything, we should start to see something closer to what I had before. So that's pretty fun. It's not bad. Whoops. So yeah, that's basically our particle system. I think that pretty much covers everything you guys need to know. So I'll post this on YouTube, obviously, and I'll make a little template page that you guys can use to get started. So you really don't have to worry about most of the system or the code up here. you just want to focus on the composition. So, and you can also, choose your colors and stuff like that. So you will want to change these numbers up here, these variables, but you can leave most of the code the same. And you can leave the update and the is dead the same. And you can basically leave the whole system itself the same. The particles, the composition is where you really want to make some changes. So I'll make a template for this and I'll upload that, and I'll also include the links on GitHub as well. So you can see all of that stuff in the YouTube description. So for now, I'm just going to add these examples. So it adds 3D particle examples and push to the master. And so just look for that in the YouTube description. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want me to kind of demonstrate doing differently, just you can email me or put a note on Discord. And yeah, I hope this was kind of fun. It's a little bit of a silly project, but it's kind of a nice way to add in our 3D graphics with some class based programming. So yeah, that's it for this video.